Sheltering an alien refugee was easy, until her mating instincts awoke. HFY Sci-Fi Story. Starfall in Crimson Gulch. Liam Foster wiped dust from the ancient, "the watering hole" sign, more out of habit than any real hope of improvement. The desert wind had been particularly vicious today, coating everything in his small roadside bar with a fine layer of red sand. But out here in Crimson Gulch, population 327 and shrinking, appearances hardly mattered. 5 years after hanging up his combat medic uniform, Liam had purchased this dilapidated establishment with his military pension. The locals had initially regarded him with suspicion. Outsiders rarely chose this forgotten corner of Nevada unless they were running from something. He never corrected their assumptions. The night was unusually quiet. Even Bert Higgins, who typically nursed whiskeys until closing, had departed early, muttering about strange lights in the sky. Liam dismissed it as the rambling of a man who'd had one too many, but when the first tremor hit, rattling bottles behind the bar, he wasn't so sure. The second tremor knocked out the power. "Perfect," Liam muttered, fishing a flashlight from beneath the counter. His fingers brushed against the revolver he kept there, another habit from his time overseas. He hesitated, then grabbed it too. Outside, the desert night was illuminated by an eerie blue glow emanating from beyond the ridge that gave Crimson Gulch its name. Liam's training urged caution, but curiosity won out. He climbed into his battered pickup truck and followed the dirt road toward the light. The crash site was unmistakable, a deep gouge in the earth, leading to what appeared to be a metallic pod roughly the size of a small car. Steam hissed from its seamless surface, which radiated a pulsing cobalt light. Liam approached cautiously, revolver in one hand, flashlight in the other. A seam appeared in the pod's surface, widening to reveal an opening. Liam raised his weapon instinctively as a figure emerged, stumbling and falling to the desert sand. "Don't move," he called out, training the flashlight on the prone form. What the beam revealed stole the breath from his lungs. The figure was humanoid but unmistakably not human. Its skin was opalescent, shifting between shades of teal and violet as it moved. Where hair should be was a crown of crystalline structures that caught the moonlight. And when she looked up at him, her eyes were solid white, pupilless orbs that somehow still conveyed pain. "Help," the creature whispered, the word perfectly formed despite the alien structure of her mouth. A viscous blue fluid seeped from a wound in her side. "Please." Liam's medic training kicked in before his rational mind could object. He holstered his weapon and knelt beside her, assessing the injury. "Can you understand me?" She nodded weakly. Universal translator, embedded. Her skin flickered, dimming like a failing light bulb. "I'm going to move you to my truck," Liam said, making his decision. "My home isn't far." The alien, for there was no other word for her, weighed surprisingly little. He carried her to his truck and laid her across the back seat, covering her with an old blanket. "Do you have a name?" he asked, starting the engine. "Nix," she replied, voice fading. "I am called Nix." By the time they reached his small apartment above the watering hole, Nix had lost consciousness. Liam carried her up the back stairs, thankful for the power outage that kept prying eyes away. Inside, he cleared his kitchen table and laid her down, gathering his first aid supplies. The wound was unlike anything he'd treated before. The blue fluid, blood, seemed to move with purpose, almost as if it were trying to seal the gash. Liam cleaned the area as best he could, then applied pressure. To his amazement, the edges of the wound began to knit together under his touch. "Self-healing," he murmured. "Handy trick." He set up an 4 with saline solution, hoping her physiology was at least somewhat compatible with human treatments. As he worked, Liam studied his unexpected patient. Beneath the alien features was something almost familiar, expressions of pain, the occasional twitch of fingers, the rise and fall of breathing. Nix awoke hours later with a startled gasp, instantly alert. She sat up, white eyes scanning the room before settling on Liam, who had dozed off in a chair beside her. You didn't report me, she stated, her voice clearer now, melodic with an otherworldly resonance. Liam shrugged. Figured if you were the vanguard of an alien invasion, reporting you to our bumbling authorities wouldn't make much difference. A sound like wind chimes escaped her, laughter, he realized. No invasion. Just escape. From what? Nyx's luminescence dimmed. My world, Astralise. Our convergence, what you might call government, has become expansionist. They see other worlds as resources to be harvested. She looked down at her hands, which were now glowing softly. I was part of a resistance. We failed. Liam nodded, understanding all too well the weight of failed missions. And now they're after you. They will be. My escape was unauthorized. Detected. Great, Liam muttered. And I just harbored an intergalactic fugitive. The next 3 days established an uneasy routine. Nyx recovered rapidly, her wound completely healed by the second morning. Liam kept the bar closed, citing electrical issues, while he tried to determine what to do with his visitor. Nyx proved to be a quick study of human customs, absorbing information from Liam's small library and ancient television. She explained that her species, the Astralites, were natural mimics, adapting to blend with various environments. This is why your atmosphere doesn't poison me, she explained. My physiology is adjusting. Is that normal? Liam asked, noticing how her skin had shifted to a more muted palette, the crystalline structures on her head shrinking to what might pass for unusual hair at a distance. Within parameters, yes. Nyx hesitated. But there are anomalies. I'm changing faster than expected. On the 4th day, Liam reopened the bar. He kept Nyx hidden upstairs, but curiosity soon got the better of her. Disguised in Liam's clothes, a hat pulled low over her still alien features, she slipped downstairs during a quiet afternoon. Who's your friend, Foster? Called Hank Willis from his usual corner table. Niev, Liam replied, using the human name they'd practiced. My cousin, visiting from back east. Nyx nodded silently, mimicking human gestures she'd observed through the window. She settled at the far end of the bar, watching the sparse crowd with fascination. That night, the questions began. Reports of strange lights in the sky had spread through town. 2 government vehicles had been spotted on the highway. Sheriff Jenkins had been asking about unusual activity. We're running out of time, Liam told Nyx as they closed up. If your people are coming, we need a plan. Nyx didn't respond immediately. She seemed distracted, running her fingers along her forearm where new patterns had emerged, swirling bioluminescent markings that pulsed with her heartbeat. These changes, she finally said, they're accelerating. She looked up at Liam, her once solid white eyes now developing distinct irises, a startling gold against the alabaster. I think it's because of you. Me? What did I do? Not what you did. What you are. Nyx moved closer, the markings on her skin brightening. My species adapts to our environment, yes, but there's something more. A compatibility I didn't know was possible. Liam felt a strange warmth where her arm brushed his, like static electricity but pleasant. Compatibility for what? Before she could answer, the bar's front windows illuminated with harsh, searching light. Car doors slammed outside, and authoritative voices called for everyone to exit the building. Too late, Nyx whispered, her newfound irises dilating with fear. They've found me. The markings on her skin flared brilliantly, and to Liam's astonishment, identical patterns began to appear on his own skin where they had touched, faint, but unmistakable. What the hell? He gasped, staring at his arm. The bond, Nyx breathed. It's beginning. I never thought it was more than legend. Outside, the voices grew more insistent. But it wasn't just government agents, Liam could hear something else beneath their human shouts. Something that made the air vibrate at a frequency just beyond comfortable hearing. They were out of time, caught between human authorities who would dissect them for answers and whatever had followed Nyx across the stars. "Trust me," Nyx said, taking his hand. Where their skin met, energy danced between them, the shared markings glowing in unison. "We need to run. Now." And as the door splintered open behind them, Liam felt something awaken within him, something ancient and new all at once. Something that whispered of stars and possibilities he'd never dared imagine. Celestial convergence. The desert night enveloped Liam and Nyx as they fled through the back entrance of the watering hole. Behind them, voices shouted orders, some human, others producing sounds that made Liam's teeth vibrate. The luminescent patterns on their skin provided just enough light to navigate the rocky terrain behind the bar. "My truck," Liam whispered, pointing toward the old pickup parked in the shadows. "No," Nyx replied, tugging him in the opposite direction. "Too obvious. They'll track it immediately." A beam of intense blue light swept over the area where they'd been standing moments before. Liam pulled Nyx behind a large boulder, pressing his back against the cool stone. His military training was returning in waves: assess, adapt, overcome. "What exactly are we dealing with?" he asked, his voice barely audible. Nyx's golden irises gleamed in the darkness. "The Astrolite Retrieval Unit. Elite Hunters. And your government's scientific division. Both want me for different reasons, neither good." The patterns on Liam's arm pulsed in sync with Nyx's, growing brighter and spreading further up toward his shoulder. Each beat brought with it a flash of something. Emotions not his own. Fragments of memories, crystalline cities beneath twin moons, the sensation of flight through atmosphere, terror as alarms blared around a small escape pod. "I can feel you," Liam said, bewildered. "In my head." "The bond is strengthening faster than I anticipated," Nyx replied. Her hand found his, and the connection intensified. "My people have legends about this, rare biological compatibility with other sentient species. The convergence has forbidden such bonds for generations." "Why?" "Because they can't control them." A small smile played across her alien features. "A bonded pair shares more than just physical traits. Knowledge. Abilities. Eventually, even genetic potential." A thunderous explosion rocked the ground. Liam peered around the boulder to see the bar's roof collapsing in flames. His home, his business, everything gone in an instant. "We need to keep moving," he said, pushing aside the loss. "There's an abandoned mining complex about 3 miles east. We can hole up there until—" Another flash in his mind, this time an image of sleek silver craft descending toward Earth, weapons primed. "Until what?" Nyx finished his thought. "Until my people glass this entire region looking for me. Until your government dissects us both to understand the bond." Liam had no answer. Instead, he led the way east, moving as silently as his combat training allowed. The desert landscape, so familiar to him after 5 years, now felt alien under the strange light pulsing from their skin. They reached the abandoned mine just as dawn began to break. The complex was a relic of Crimson Gulch's brief mining boom, concrete structures now crumbling, rusted equipment scattered across the grounds. Liam guided Nyx to a small office building partially reclaimed by the desert. "We can rest here," he said, securing the door behind them. "Not comfortable, but defensible." Nyx slumped against a wall, exhaustion evident. The changes in her appearance had accelerated, her skin now closer to a human tone with just a hint of iridescence, the crystalline crown reduced to unusual markings along her hairline. If not for her extraordinary eyes and the glowing patterns on her skin, she might pass for human at a distance. "You're getting good at this," Liam remarked, gesturing toward her transformation. "Not my doing," she replied. "The bond is reshaping me. And you." Liam examined his arm where the patterns now extended across his chest. With each passing hour, they grew more defined, more like Nyx's original markings. And with them came other changes, heightened senses, unexpected strength when he'd moved a fallen beam blocking their path, flashes of knowledge about stars he'd never studied. "What happens if the bond completes?" he asked. Nyx's golden eyes met his. "Something unprecedented. My people's ancient texts speak of such bonds, but they're half myth, half scientific record. The convergence forbade them because bonded pairs developed abilities. Became something new. Something they couldn't control," Liam guessed. "Exactly." She moved closer, the patterns on their skin brightening at proximity. In the oldest stories, bonded pairs could communicate across vast distances, share consciousness, even manipulate energy fields. Liam shook his head. "Sounds like superpowers from a comic book. Every legend has its core of truth." Nyx placed her palm against his chest where the patterns glowed brightest. "Can you feel it? The change is already happening." He could. Something was awakening within him, an awareness of energy flowing around them, through them. When he focused, he could almost see it, like heat waves rising from desert sand. Their moment of connection was interrupted by a low, pulsing hum that vibrated through the building's foundation. Outside, the sky darkened as 3 sleek vessels moved into position above the mining complex. "They found us," Nyx whispered. The door burst open. Liam pulled Nyx behind him, readying himself for a fight he couldn't possibly win. But the figure in the doorway wasn't an alien hunter or government agent. "Foster? You in there?" Sheriff Jenkins called, weapon drawn but pointed downward. The older man looked haggard, dust covering his uniform. "The whole town's being evacuated. Those things in the sky, they're demanding we turn over you and your cousin." Liam tensed. "And you came to collect us?" Jenkins holstered his weapon. "I came to warn you. Whatever's happening, it's bigger than Crimson Gulch. Those government types shot at my deputy when he wouldn't let them into the records office." Before Liam could respond, the ground shook violently. Through the grimy window, he saw a beam of intense light strike the earth half a mile away, leaving a smoldering crater. "A warning shot," Nyx said. "They'll level this entire area to find me." Jenkins stared at her, finally noticing the inhuman eyes, the glowing patterns on both their skin. "What the hell are you?" "A refugee," Liam answered for her. "And right now, our only chance at stopping this." The bond surged between them, and suddenly Liam understood what needed to be done. The knowledge transferred through their connection, impossible yet clear as desert sunlight. "We need to get to higher ground," he said with newfound certainty. "The Eastern Ridge." Jenkins looked skeptical but nodded toward his patrol car. "I can get you part way." The journey to the ridge was tense, the sheriff's vehicle racing along dirt roads as alien vessels tracked their movement. Above them, clouds gathered unnaturally, swirling in patterns that defied meteorology. "Whatever you're planning," Jenkins said as they reached the base of the ridge, "make it quick." Liam and Nyx continued on foot, climbing rapidly. The bond between them strengthened with each step, the patterns now covering most of their bodies, pulsing in perfect synchronization. At the summit, they faced the hovering astrolite vessels. A voice boomed across the landscape, speaking in a language that hurt human ears, but Liam understood it perfectly through his connection with Nyx. "Defector. Return to the retrieval unit or this settlement will be cleansed." Below, a convoy of government vehicles approached from the highway, troops deploying in tactical formation. "They'll fight each other for the right to capture us," Nyx said grimly. "And destroy everything in the process." Liam took her hands in his. The patterns on their skin flared brilliantly, energy crackling between them. "Then we show them something worth more than a weapon or a prisoner. We show them possibility." As their foreheads touched, the bond exploded into full bloom. Knowledge, memory, and power flowed between them unimpeded. The luminescent patterns lifted from their skin, surrounding them in a cocoon of pulsing energy that expanded outward. "Showed them a third option," Liam replied, his voice overlaid with harmonics that hadn't been there before. The bond cannot be undone, Nyx added. But it can be shared, not forced, but offered. A path forward for both our kinds. In the days that followed, Crimson Gulch became something unprecedented, neutral ground for the first official diplomatic contact between Earth and Astralise. The government's scientific division established a research outpost with Liam and Nyx's willing participation, studying the bond under their conditions. The Astrolite Retrieval Unit was recalled, replaced by actual diplomats. Word spread through the stars of what had occurred, a natural phenomenon that the Convergence had feared and suppressed for generations now stood revealed as evolution's answer to isolation. 6 months later, Liam stood on the newly rebuilt roof of the watering hole, now expanded into what locals jokingly called the Interstellar Cantina. Beside him, Nyx gazed up at the night sky where a small astrolite vessel was departing after delivering supplies for the research station. "Do you regret it?" she asked, though she already knew the answer through their bond. "Giving up your quiet life?" Liam smiled, the patterns on his skin pulsing gently in the darkness. "Hard to regret something that was never truly mine to begin with." He took her hand, feeling the familiar energy flow between them, no longer jarring or strange, but as natural as breathing. Through their bond, he sensed other connections forming across the globe, rare pairs of humans and astrolites discovering compatibility, forming new bonds, creating bridges where walls had once stood. "What do you think happens next?" he asked, though part of him already knew. Nyx's golden eyes reflected the stars above, stars that no longer seemed distant and unreachable. "We keep building," she said simply. "Not just between our worlds, but beyond them." Below them, the bar was filled with an impossible mixture of patrons, locals who had returned to their homes, government researchers off duty, and the occasional astrolite visitor. Their cautious interactions were evolving into genuine connections, curiosity overcoming fear. It wasn't perfect. There were still those on both sides who resisted, who saw the bond as contamination rather than evolution. But Liam and Nyx had started something that couldn't be contained or reversed, a whisper from the void that promised connection across the vast emptiness of space. And as they stood together under alien stars that felt increasingly like home, that whisper grew louder, spreading from world to world, a promise of what could be when differences became strengths and boundaries became horizons.